As a kid, I never really was into sports, not even slightly. I was disgustingly skinny and I had no lower or upper body strength, which sort of in turn led me into doing art. I may not have been able to lift a dumbbell, but I was able to lift a pencil and bring it to a piece of paper. With that being said, I also wasn't a fan of watching sports. Again, it just wasn't my proclivity as a kid. Therefore, watching sports anime or reading a sports manga just wasn't my thing for a while, but I did eventually give it a chance with The Prince of Tennis, and Jesus Christ, this was insane. When he hit the ball, a whole meteor shower came down. Don't get me started when Ryoma started to play with his eyes closed, like what is going on? This shit was bananas. Then I went on to Kuroko no Basket and things got crazier, like seeing the future or being able to copy one's skills, or get this, even steal them. Of course, I got into more grounded sports manga like Slam Dunk, Hajime no Ippo, and other certified hood classics, but for a while I really sat down to watch people play sports with what were essentially superpowers. But I'm not gonna lie, it sorta was enjoyable. Then further down the line we have Blue Lock, a manga that sort of throws away the idea that teamwork makes the dream work, and that only you matter if you want to win. It was very different from typical sports ideology, so I was intrigued, and honestly, similar to how I got sucked into Prince of Tennis and Kuroko, I sorta got sucked into this too. If you look at the cover of Blue Lock, it looks like prison soccer, and in a way it is. People are ranked on their skill level, and depending on what their rank is will determine the type of food and quality of life they have in this facility. And then we have Isagi, who is a pretty run-of-the-mill main character, but his growth in this series is so satisfying. It makes someone like me who isn't even slightly into sports interested in this manga, and the artist for this manga is Yusuke Nomura. Yusuke Nomura is a manga artist that actually started out his career as Hajime Isayama's assistant. Yeah, the Attack on Titan guy. And yes, I will dedicate a video on him one day, as well as the assistant for Hinata Takeshi, who did Ahiru no Sora, which is another sports manga. After that, he decided he would dedicate his efforts on being a manga illustrator, and in 2014, he alongside Yukiaki Kurando would start Dale Kill Kill, which I did read for a bit while it was serialized, but I swear to God it got axed because where did that ending even come from? Then in 2018, he would pair up with Muneyuki Kaneshiro to start Blue Lock, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because Kaneshiro was the author for manga like Kami-sama no Yutori and several death game manga, Chigan, another manga that I swear to God got axed because again, that ending, where did it come from? And now he's working on Hiramoto Akira to do Super Ball Girl, you know, the guy that did Prison School, so we already know people are gonna get naked. Anyway, back to Yusuke. I'm gonna be looking at his ink stuff and his colored stuff while yapping on about things that I think look cool. One thing that is for sure about Yusuke is that he is mainly a traditional artist, and I say mainly because if you go to his Twitter page, you can see all sorts of work in progress posts when he's in the middle of inking, as well as some digital sketches. And it is great to see some preliminary stages of artwork. You are able to take a peek inside the head of the artist when you get to see material like this. I can't suggest enough for upcoming artists to use this to your advantage when learning how to draw or studying someone else's art style to incorporate elements into your own art style. One thing I want to mention off the bat when dealing with sports is that form is everything. To how you shoot the ball, how you carry it, how you pass it, and how you kick it. And Yusuke demonstrates that very well with how he draws the form in 3D space. The way Nagi chops the ball in midair, and how Baru does a heel kick, and so on and so forth. A good way you could learn to visualize and draw these forms is by using boxes. Boxes in general are just so useful when trying to see things in 3D space, especially when visualizing these kinds of poses. And to add on top of that, foreshortening is quintessential for adding dynamicism to certain moments, and by moments I mean the goals. These are by far my favorite moments. They pump me up with so much adrenaline while reading this manga. And as I said before, foreshortening is key for moments like these because they add so much more power through the paneling and composition. And by that I mean we have some goals in which we see the character kicking the ball straight to the goal, like in this shot when Nagi kicks it in, and then we have these goals in which the ball is going straight towards the readers, like in this moment when Kaiser does his Kaiser impact and actually sticks the landing complete with his victory pose. I'm gonna get back to those in a bit though. What I want to focus on is the way Yusuke draws the kick, the direction the ball is moving, the path trail the ball leaves behind, and its rotation are all elements that are stacked up on top of each other to quantify the speed and power. It's almost as if a bullet or a cannonball is being shot. Something that Yusuke will also do is go between drawing a front view of the kick or the back view, the charge of the kick and the impact fact, these are the defining moments in which foreshortening the leg as if it's going toward the reader or even the ball itself adds that proverbial salt and pepper to the final dish being the goal itself. But before getting to the goal, there's still the plays being made and the action and thought process from the characters before the payoff. Although I will say that for a sports manga, these are the moments in Blue Lock in which it can be a bit word heavy, like in this scene in which Isagi is trying to gather as much information from the field as possible. And I do get it, you really want to follow every moment on the field through the eyes of whatever character is on focus, or in this case Isagi, but there will also be moments where Yusuke lets the action, or the play I should say, tell the story. One example of this is in these 3 consecutive pages in which the game is simply being played with little to no dialogue. You don't hear anyone's thought process or any internal monologue. It's moments like these where the readability of the action helps with the visual storytelling. Each movement leads to each other and the reader is not lost in the flow. And I think it's because the way Yusuke draws the movement of the character is readable no matter how complex or fast it is. Like in this scene when Isagi gets past Chigiri, or in this scene where Baro gets past multiple players. Both these moments exemplify multiple quick movements all condensed in one panel. I love how Yusuke draws the path the ball is going to guide the reader's eye, and the way he renders Baro's in-between movements when he gets past the opposing players is just genius, and he did it for Isagi as well. It's as if we're looking at animation when you see multiple frames all at once. Another good example is when you see with Bachida's high-speed scissors. It's just a single image, but you get the sense of speed with how it's drawn. Also, another exemplary moment of which the story is only being told through the action is chapter 147. I'm not going to go too in-depth into what happens in this chapter since season 2 of Blue Lock did get announced, and I think it might reach this moment, but that chapter is nothing but action. There's no dialogue, there's no internal monologue, there's no one talking. And that chapter is the peak chapter of Blue Lock, at least for the first arc. When season 2 drops, hopefully it gets to that part. If not, for the people that have read the manga, you know what I'm talking about. That game is nuts. Also, that chapter ends with the best victory group pose scene ever in the entire manga, thus far, at least for me personally. When the manga gets to its final match or something like that, it'll probably have a better one, but chapter 147, that ending got me pumped. And I did say earlier that the goals are the best part for me, but you've got to love the fist pumping and the victory poses Yusuke draws. This one by Kaiser is so bombastic and exaggerated, but so fitting at the same time. Rage is also another thing that's drawn pretty frequently in this manga, but I'm gonna get back to that in just a bit. First, I want to talk about something that also happens pretty frequently in this manga, but I'd like to transition to that with something that's been making the waves in the anime/manga community. A term specifically, and that term is aura. Blue Lock has characters exhibit this trait a lot, and I absolutely love the way Yusuke exhibits this through his art. One way he does this is have the lines be bold around the characters using a brush-like texture like in this piece, or increasing the amount of contrast on a character's face. And to go even further, he'll extend this brush-like texture to even the speech bubbles, but by far he really lets their characters express their aura through their facial expressions. Remember that rage I talked about? The level of intensity he draws on the character's face is insane. I'm not going to show that much Dolly Kill material in this video because I haven't read it in a while and I'm not going to read it again just for this video, but in the beginning portions of that manga, he'll draw the protagonist, Yuruma, going through a very deranged moment, and he carries these moments into Blue Lock where characters go straight up insane. A perfect example of this is this legendary panel that actually sort of blew up on Twitter. For those who aren't familiar with Blue Lock or this panel, you'd never guess that this panel will be him saying that he'd kill Kaiser even if it's the last thing he does. Oh shit. And sure, to us, the reader, this is just soccer, but to the characters, this shit is life and death. And I will literally kill you if you get in the way of me making goals. And again, you can't deny that Yusuke really nails the intensity of this scene. The line art is all bold and jagged with that brush texture, the crazy tension lines, the lighting, everything about this scene is honestly unhinged, but it's so good and hilarious that I can't look away. And it just doesn't stop. There's this scene where Rin tells Isagi that he's gonna kill him.
What are we talking about?
I personally don't like using the latest new terminology when describing tropes in anime, but aura perfectly describes what this is, what this is, what this is, and what this is. tell me this physical manifestation of Rin's malice isn't cool. It's almost demonic. It's almost similar to visual metaphors Ogre uses a lot in his manga, like in this scene in Air Gear where he describes Ikki as constantly rebuilding himself anew, which makes him pretty unpredictable, and he uses the visual metaphor of Lego building blocks to represent that. Yusuke does something similar for Isagi, and that's with puzzle pieces. Whenever Isagi goes through a dramatic growth, Yusuke will draw him being built up these puzzle pieces, and it's such a good representation of what's going on. If Isagi wants to keep getting better, to keep evolving, he needs to constantly redefine and rebuild himself to the new situations or chemical reactions, as they say in the manga, to ultimately be a better player in the field. And it doesn't come out of nowhere either. It starts off as a subtle motif using people's secret weapons and their specialties and putting them together to make something that can ultimately be used on the field. Hell, even Isagi's metavision has this motif with his eyes, which is really cool now that I think about it. I said in the previous section that he inks his work traditionally, however I'm not too sure if he colors traditionally as well. Usually there's a slight amount of texture when you see someone color on paper and then scan it for digital touch-ups, but I don't really see much of that when I looked at his colored work. And I'll be honest, outside of the volume covers, I couldn't find much of Yusuke's illustrated work, so I'll present whatever I could find. To start off, I find that's a really nice touch to add a colored light source to add a bit of rim lighting to some of the volume covers. And speaking of covers, I like the overall chain and collar motif. There is some variation, however, like in volume 18 in which Anri doesn't have the chain collar because, well, she's not a player, or for volume 19 in which the collar is transparent like glass in order to see Kaiser's blue rose tattoo, or even volume 20 in which Nessa's chain has a bit of foliage to represent Kaiser's hold on him. Another thing that I want to talk about is how color is relative to the color surrounding it. I'm pretty sure we've seen these color illusions in which we're told that the color in focus is the same exact color on two different occasions. You can extend this to coloring pretty much anything, but we'll keep it to just coloring the skin for this example. In volume 15, the main color is this reddish orange, while in volume 13, the main color is this blue. If we color pick the skin color and isolate it, we can see that the skin in volume 15 is a yellowish orange and the skin in volume 13 is a purplish blue. I say this to explain that when rendering skin, you also need to consider the overall color or just the main color. Alternatively, there are times where you could section off an illustration to have them have two different main color palettes, like in this piece. The background with Isagi and Rin is monochromatic using blues, while the foreground with Bachira sort of follows its own color palette with the yellows and browns. I like this choice because with different color temperatures, it sort of helps frame Bachira and makes him glow and stand out. A good way to show you guys what I mean is that here's what it would probably look like if the whole illustration follows the same color palette. He also uses some foreshortening in this illustration, which is typically a very hard angle to do, but again, if you do the box method, you can imagine how it's constructed, although knowing some 3-point perspective may be of some help with angles like this. He also did this really cool illustration of Isagi wearing the national Adidas jersey for the Japanese soccer team, because I'll let you guys know right now that Blue Lock was trending so much when Japan won a couple of their matches back in 2022, and I'm not gonna lie, it was sort of hype. To wrap this video up, Yusuke Nomura is an artist that a lot of you guys wanted me to cover, and I could totally see why. His ink work is something that is absolutely next level. The way he uses an ink brush to do very bold and jagged line art really helps enhance scenes of heightened emotion, specifically rage, but on top of that, these brush marks are also used to really exemplify the character's aura, like in this scene with Nagi and in this scene with Rin, along with many others throughout this manga. And while reading Blue Lock, I get really pumped up every time a character goes for a goal due to how explosive these kicks are drawn. The form and angle in which the pose is drawn are all elements that add to the explosiveness, to which if you want to get a better idea of the forms, you could draw boxes. And speaking of forms and poses, with Yusuke's expert use of foreshortening, we get amazing shots of a character's legs outstretched forward when they let that kick off, and then having the ball hurled straight towards the reader. His color work shows really good thematic consistency, with all the Blue Lock volumes showing a character having a collar and chain around their neck, while of course volume 19 shows Anri without. He's also good with choosing colors based around the surroundings, since color is sort of all relative. If you want to support him, Yusuke Nomura has a Twitter if you want to see his work in progress posts, but no other social media accounts that I know of. He doesn't have any art books at the moment, but I can totally imagine him making one once Blue Lock is finished, because I really need a compilation of his art in an art book format. Hey guys, I know it's been a minute since my last artist analysis, but there were some things that I wanted to talk about before doing the analysis on Yusuke Nomura. I also wanted to be as thorough as possible since I know that this is an artist a lot of people wanted me to look at. I know I didn't talk much about Dale Kill Kill, and that's mainly because it's been so damn long since I read it that I didn't want to essentially have to reread the entire manga all over again to gather material for my talking points. Before my next video or next artist analysis, I do want to again do drawing videos or videos pertaining art and drawing because that's what this channel is about. I'm also going to be doing more artist showcases. I'm thinking about looking at Reno Tuna or Park Reno or Reno Park, whatever its name is. Korean illustrator, character designer, because I really like his work and I really want to talk about it. So yeah, look forward to videos like that and just in general art videos. Patreon, I'm probably going to upload this video a week earlier on my Patreon to give people incentive to follow my Patreon. And I just need to, I'm also working on more exclusive content slowly and surely. I'm actually really feeling the zone in terms of exclusive content to post there. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Down in the description, you can follow my Instagram, you can follow my Twitter or my X, whatever you want to call it these days. Whatever social media is down there, I don't know what's going to be down there. Hell, maybe even Kara is going to be down there, or maybe not. I don't know. I have a Twitch that I don't use yet. I promise I'll find the time to stream on Twitch if I'm feeling the need to. And again, there's also my Patreon. Be sure to like the video, comment. I always loved reading comments, no matter how good or bad they are right now. And subscribe. Subscribing is cool. It's free. It's something that I really like when I see the number goes up. And yeah, thank you again so much for watching this video. And I hope to see you guys in the next one real soon.